and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at some source material that, honestly, it just throws you right in. It's this real mix of intense emotion, quite technical detail.
Yeah, it jumps around, doesn't it? 1 minute you're reading about someone frantically searching for car keys.
Right. And the next, it's life or death decisions for an old pony. Then suddenly you're learning about, what, sheep scoring?
Exactly. It's got this incredible range: domestic crisis, farm management specifics, even professional anxieties in healthcare.
So our job today is to try and, well, weave these threads together for you. We've basically got 3 main plot lines running side by side, all pretty high stakes.
Okay, so what are we focusing on?
First, there's the really emotional core, the fate of this old pony, Bartleby, and his connection to George, who's in prison. There's a deadline involved.
Ah, right, the time pressure.
Then we've got these sort of surprising technical insights, one from agency nursing, dealing with medication risks.
And the other from the farm, with Adam and Rory getting into the nitty-gritty of sheep health. Condition scoring.
Exactly. And finally, the third thread is this massive, almost unbelievable family vacation plan managing to get everyone on board for a trip to Scotland.
That sounds like a logistical nightmare in itself.
Pretty much. So it's about bringing together Bartleby's countdown, the professional details, and this huge family coordination effort.
And I think what really links these disparate parts is how people use objective information, hard facts, medical signs, scores, even just RSVPs to navigate really emotional, messy situations.
That's a great point. Like, sometimes the feelings are overwhelming, but you still have to look at the data, even if it's hard.
Precisely. When the stakes are high, that objective reality often has to guide the way. So where do we start? With the urgency.
Let's start right there. The clock is ticking from the very first moment.
Yeah.
Emma's in a panic, can't find her car keys.
Why the rush?
It's Bartleby, George's old pony. He's not doing well, and she needs to get to him. Amber's there, getting ready for her own visit to George tomorrow.
Oh, Amber's visiting George.
Yeah, seems focused on her hair initially, but the second she understands the situation with Bartleby, she drops everything to drive Emma.
Okay, so Bartleby is clearly very important. Tell us more about him.
He really is. He's living out his retirement at a sanctuary run by Meg Miller.
A sanctuary for old horses.
Exactly. But Bartleby isn't just any pony. He's got this deep history with the family.
How so?
Well, George's great-granddad gave him to George, specifically asking him to look after him. So there's that promise.
Ah, a legacy thing.
Totally. And apparently he was a bit of a local celebrity back in the day, a real character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the sources mention he used to wear flashing antlers at Christmas, like one of Santa's reindeer. All the village kids loved it.
Ah, that's quite the image.
And even more personally, he was one of the horses that pulled the carriage when Emma married Ed. Took Emma, George, and Kira to the church.
Wow. Okay, so he's deeply woven into their family story, which makes his current situation even harder.
Definitely. The medical details are quite stark. He's having trouble standing, very wobbly, losing weight.
And the vet's diagnosis.
They suspect severe arthritis. Meg and the vet are pretty clear. They believe they're approaching the end game.
End game. That's blunt.
It is. And Meg's plan, understandably, is to call it a day soon. Euthanasia. To prevent him suffering more.
Right, which is standard practice in sanctuaries when quality of life drops that low. But the timing.
The timing is the absolute crux of it, because George is still in prison.
Okay, right. His final visit with Amber is tomorrow.
But he's actually due to be released and come home in just a couple weeks.
A couple of weeks.
No.
So close.
Yeah.
What was he in for again?
The charge mentioned is perverting the course of justice. Emma calls it pretty serious.
Yeah, that does sound serious.
Amber tries to frame it differently, saying he just lied to the police, didn't actually hurt anyone physically, but the fact remains he's locked up.
And might miss saying goodbye to Bartleby. That's brutal.
Exactly. Which leads to this incredibly difficult conversation. Emma pleads with Meg. Begs her to wait.
Wait the 2 weeks.
Just 2 weeks, so George can see him one last time. She stresses how important Bartleby was to George, like one of the things that helped him get through his sentence.
Oh, man. That puts Meg in an impossible position.
Totally. You're asking her to potentially prolong an animal's discomfort for a human's emotional need. It's a huge ethical conflict.
How does Meg respond?
Very pragmatically, but with compassion, she agrees to try to keep Bartleby comfortable for those 2 weeks.
But there's a condition, I assume.
A very clear one. Meg says if Bartleby reaches a point where he can't get up by himself, or if his suffering clearly increases, then the decision is made. She has to act.
So the horse's welfare comes first. Non-negotiable.
Absolutely. The animal's physical state becomes the ultimate decider, overriding even that deep emotional plea from Emma. That 2-week countdown isn't guaranteed at all.
It's entirely dependent on Bartleby's condition.
Wow.
Okay, that's a heavy start.
It really is, and it raises that question, like you said, about making these tough calls based on objective signs when the emotional stakes are sky high.
Which actually segues quite neatly into our next source, doesn't it? The one about agency nursing.
It does. It's about a different kind of high-stakes environment, but similar pressures. This source focuses on the experience of starting as an agency nurse.
Right, and the initial feeling mentioned is relief. Surprisingly less scary than expected.
Yeah, apparently the horror stories didn't materialize on the first day, mainly because the senior nurse on the ward was actually really helpful.
That makes a huge difference starting somewhere new.
But underneath that relief, there's this constant anxiety about competence, wanting to fit in, be useful.
But also being terrified of making a mistake and not wanting to seem like you don't know what you're doing by keep asking questions.
Exactly, especially when everyone else seems incredibly busy. It's that tension. Project competence, but ensure safety above all else.
You absolutely cannot let the fear of looking silly compromise patient care.
And we see that play out with a specific clinical example involving medication.
Ah, yes, the antibiotic issue. Cephalosporin, wasn't it?
That's the one. The nurse is worried because the patient has a known penicillin allergy.
And there can be cross-reactivity between penicillins and cephalosporins, although it's not universal. Depends on the specific drugs and the type of allergy.
Right. And in this case, the note said the penicillin allergy was non-severe. The patient wasn't anaphylactic.
So technically, the risk might be considered lower. Some guidelines might even say it's okay to proceed with caution.
But the agency nurse didn't just rely on that. They still took the step of checking with the prescribing doctor before giving the drug.
Which is absolutely the right call, especially in a new environment.
It highlights that professional diligence, doesn't it? Choosing safety over speed or avoiding potential awkwardness. The protocol, the double check, it overrides personal anxiety.
It has to. In healthcare, like in animal welfare, objective checks and safety protocols are paramount. You follow the steps, verify the data.
Okay, so from clinical protocols to agricultural ones, let's switch gears to the farm. Rory and Adam are talking sheep.
Yeah, this part gets quite technical about flock management. Specifically, sheep condition scoring.
Right. Explain that for us. How does it work?
It's surprisingly hands-on. It literally involves feeling the sheep's back, around the lumbar vertebrae, the ends of the bones along the spine.
You're feeling for?
Fat cover. Basically, how much fat is covering those bones tells you the sheep's overall body condition. It's a tactile assessment.
And they assign a score based on that feeling.
Exactly. And these scores have real consequences for managing the flock.
Okay, give us an example.
They mention a score of 3.5 being the ideal condition.
Ideal for what?
For tupping. That's the mating season. A ewe condition score of 3.5 has the best chance of conceiving and carrying healthy lambs.
I see. So it's directly linked to productivity, to the farm's bottom line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fertility rates, lamb survival, it all correlates strongly with the ewe's condition at mating.
So what happens if a ship doesn't score a 3.5? Say it scores lower.
Well, they mention a score of 2 means the sheep needs a boost.
A boost. Meaning?
Extra feed. If a sheep is below condition score 3, generally, they need supplementary feeding to get them up to that target weight before tupping starts. It's an immediate action triggered by that score.
So again, it's an objective number driving a practical and probably costly decision.
Precisely. No guesswork. Feel the sheep, get the score, make the feeding plan. It allows them to manage hundreds, maybe thousands of animals efficiently.
It seems almost reductive, though, judging an animal's readiness for breeding based on feeling its back.
It might seem that way, but it's a proven practical field technique. You can't do blood tests on every single ewe before mating season. You need something quick, reliable, and scalable. Condition scoring provides that.
Okay, I get that. Practical application of knowledge.
And while they're focused on this scoring, other farm stuff is still happening in the background, right?
Yeah, just the usual. Brian is apparently worried about some deer drama, a stag muscling in on another one's harem. Might need to separate them.
Always something.
And on a more positive note, the maize harvester header, which sounds important, got serviced, and it's all fine. No issues there.
Phew. Essential kit, that. Constant maintenance, constant monitoring. That's farming.
It is. And speaking of monitoring, let's turn back to Rory. He seems to be doing some pretty intense self-monitoring, looking back at his own path.
Yeah, this is quite a shift in him, isn't it? Real self-reflection.
He admits he was, in his words, messed up back at university.
Messed up how?
He felt he was trying to prove some kind of edgy point that family and relationships don't matter, that everything's a transaction.
Oof. That's a bleak outlook.
And he directly connects that attitude to his professional struggles, like
Yeah.
not getting kept on after his placement. He sees the link now.
So he's realized that his relational score, maybe, was way too low, and it cost him.
That's a good way to put it. He feels he's in the right place now, working on the farm, but the big uncertainty is his father, Brian.
Right. Is there actually a long-term spot for him there, has Brian decided?
That's the million-dollar question. Rory actually tried to broach the subject. He even dared to use the R word.
Retirement. With Brian. Brave man.
Extremely. Rory says usually Brian would bite his head off for even suggesting it.
And this time,
This time, Brian listened. Didn't commit to anything. Rory's still unsure, but he listened. Which Rory takes as a sliver of hope.
interesting. A potential crack in the defenses.
Maybe. And Rory also shows some realism about other family dynamics. He mentions wanting Stella back on the farm is pointless.
Ah, Stella. Yeah, he says.
That bridge is well and truly burned. He seems to understand which battles are worth fighting and which situations are just
Acceptance, which maybe is why the next piece of family news is so surprising.
the Scottish estate holiday. It's like the logistical Everest of family planning.
And somehow, it's happening.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
The sources say the Aldridge, Archers, Bell, and Mlan families are all in. Everyone's agreed.
That's astonishing.
Yeah.
How many people is that?
A lot. We get a list of specific confirmations. Pat's in, Tony's in, and already joking about needing +4s for the estate.
Classic Tony.
Tom and Dasha are confirmed. Helen, Sarah. Anova is apparently over the moon because she thinks the pictures look like a castle from a fairy tale, like a costume.
Oh, that's sweet. Anyone else?
The final domino to fall, it seems, was Debbie. She replied to the group chat, she's in too.
Debbie agreed. Wow. Okay, maybe miracles do happen.
Well, one of us noted, it looks like you've achieved the impossible, adding, maybe the family isn't as dysfunctional as I thought.
Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
it just shows that even complex families can align with enough effort and presumably a really appealing destination.
And perhaps some very careful planning behind the scenes. They're not naive about potential friction.
Oh, how so?
There's a specific note,
Ah.
if Justin decides to come along as well,
Justin. Okay.
then he and Brian will be put in separate wings of the accommodation.
Separate wings, that's pragmatic. Acknowledging reality while still making the big group thing happen.
Yeah.
Damage limitation built in.
Exactly. Manage the known risks. So looking back across everything, it's quite a journey.
It really is. From that desperate countdown for Bartleby, measured in his ability to stand.
To the clinical precision of checking an allergy before giving an antibiotic.
Then the farmer's hand judging fat cover for a score of 3.5.
And finally, the complex spreadsheet, probably, that got an entire extended family to agree on a holiday.
And underlying it all is this reliance on data, on metrics, on objective signs to navigate incredibly emotional or complex situations.
George loves Bartleby deeply, wants those 2 weeks desperately, but Bartleby's physical condition, his weight, his ability to rise, that's the data that might override the emotion.
And Rory wants a future on the farm, feels he's changed, but ultimately Brian's decision, and perhaps the farm's financial viability, those are the objective factors. He needs to prove his worth in tangible ways now, not just transactions.
It really forces you to think about how we all balance heart and head, doesn't it? The feelings versus the facts.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listeners. We've seen how objective metrics, a vet's assessment, a condition score, even just a yes on an RSVP, become crucial in managing these high-stakes moments.
So here's the question. Think about your own life. When you face a really difficult time-sensitive decision, something where your emotions are pulling you strongly one way, like George wanting those extra 2 weeks.
What objective measures, what data points, what sort of reality checks do you consciously use or could you use to help you make the call? Especially when everything inside you might be screaming to ignore the numbers.
How do you find that balance between what your heart wants and what the facts are telling you?
Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
So what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the arches. Any
Are you what we call Foley then?
kind of. Yep. That's,
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
yep. That's the ball bar. That's,
This one.
yep. That's.
Hayley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever